Welcome everyone, I'm Josiah, Brannon, and this is my brother Luke. Welcome to the first podcast ever titled Never Back Down, because I will never back down to anyone ever sitting in this seat over here, especially my brother.
It's true.
Take it away.
Alright guys, so today we're starting our podcast series, Never Back Down. So as you guys know, this is a fitness channel here on YouTube. Josiah's a personal trainer, NASM, is that right?
Yeah, NASM certified.
And he's tearing it up. He's got some really good clients he's working with, and they've been making some great progress. So today we're going to be taking on a fitness-related topic. We're going to be discussing SARMs. Are they beneficial? What are they? Should or should you not use them? Just one thing to note, guys, we're just talking about it. We're not professionals in this matter. So don't take this as medical advice or anything like that. Just realize this is just for entertainment, for information, just kind of for educational purposes, but we're not telling you to take these at all. We're just putting this stuff out here so you can learn more about it, hopefully, and gain some knowledge through it. But we're not at all recommending use of this product, that's for sure. So as we get into it, we're going to be talking, first off, we're just going to give our opening statements, talking about what our first impressions of SARMs are, and what we kind of thought coming into this. Then also we both have an acquaintance from college who he's personally used SARMs, and he was generous enough to give us an interview with that and to give us some information about what he went through.
And he's done 2 cycles of it so far, and it's been interesting to see how things have gone with him.
Exactly, yeah. So we'll go through that interview, kind of see what his take on it is, and after that we're going to address some questions, hopefully help you guys understand better what are SARMs, what are the benefits of taking them, what are the cons, how are they different than steroids, and what the decision-making process should be for you guys in choosing to take them or not to take them.
Yeah, one thing to note, our buddy from college, he wanted to remain anonymous. So throughout this podcast today, we're just going to refer to him as Arnold.
That's right, yep. Gotta sound great.
He wrote out we asked him some couple questions and got his take on it. So let's go ahead and cut to the clip, listen to what he has to say, and then we'll discuss it.
All right, let's hand off to the interview.
All right, thank you for doing the interview, man. I really appreciate it. Go ahead and introduce who you are and your experience with SARMs.
All right, what's up, guys? My name is Luke. I'm going to share my experience and my opinions on certain performance-enhancing supplements with you guys, specifically SARMs. I'm going to talk about SARMs and their purposes, whether or not I think people should use them if they're aspiring fitness individuals. Before getting into it, I just want to say that I'm not offering you guys medical advice. You got to make your decision on your own. And the experiences I've had will vary based on your genetics and the dosage you take. So first off, let's start talking about my personal background and my experience. So I started working out seriously during summer 2018, and with the help of some guys at my local store, I quickly began to see great results. So my transformation, I went from 130 pounds, from that to 175 pounds in a matter of only 10 months, guys. So I mainly wanted to put on some decent size after being skinny for most of my life, and working out quickly became a passion as I started to see great results. So for me, I'm looking in the next 2 years, my goals with fitness is to compete. I like to compete at a physique show, and my ultimate goal is to become an IFBB pro. So now we're going to talk about natural versus not natural. Do I consider myself natural after taking SARMs? And I'll tell you a little bit more about SARMs and my experience with that. So while most people classify bodybuilders as either natural or enhanced, I'm going to tell you that there's some supplements, which I consider SARMs to be one of them, that can be kind of considered as either. So what is a SARM? A SARM is a selective androgen receptor module. They were initially used on cancer patients to prevent muscle wasting. So other typical steroids bind with androgen and your estrogen receptors in the body. SARMs are only going to bind with your androgen ones, so that's a good thing. So also, you're going to be able to, because of that, you're going to be able to experience a lot of the benefits of muscle growth and endurance and strength without a lot of the effects such as hair loss, gyno, acne. Also, guys, one thing to consider with taking SARMs is they're not nearly as potent as steroids, but with that comes less side effects. But the good thing is they don't hurt your liver. So SARMs do, however, suppress your natural testosterone levels in your body, but with moderate dosing, it's not going to be enough to be a complete shutdown of your testosterone production. So that's a good thing. SARMs should not be confused with pro-hormones, which are just as dangerous, if not more dangerous than injectable steroids. So SARMs are a completely different thing. So why did I start taking SARMs? I'm sorry, I haven't taken steroids. Just confused that. But why have I started taking SARMs? So honestly, for myself, it was just an experiment. I just wanted to push my own limit of the training at my time, see what type of gains I could get. And it's pretty impressive. When I first started doing it, my first cycle I got 15 pounds of growth. Next cycle I got 10 pounds on my second cycle. So the specific SARMs I took during my cycles was Ostrin, MK2866. I took 25 milligrams a day. And I took Ligandrol, LGD 4033, 10 milligrams a day of that. Okay, so what were the differences I noticed with that? I noticed when I was on Ostrin was muscle pumps. That was the biggest difference. The glycogen capacity in my muscles was increased, so my muscles were fuller and harder. I noticed this difference on day 2 of Ostrin. Also, my endurance and my strength progressively increased as I got deeper into the cycle. On week 7 of my 8-week cycle, my strength had peaked. My muscular endurance went through the roof, and I almost felt invincible when repping heavy or medium weights. My joints also felt really good. They felt like they were lubricated 24/7, and my energy throughout the day was high. So one personal experience from this that I thought was impressive was a trip to Disneyland. So the year before, me and all my friends had been at the end of the day. We were just aching because we'd been there all day. This next year on SARMS, I was just fine the whole day. I spent probably 12 or so hours there, and I was just fine. All my other friends were aching and exhausted. I felt like I could do it all over again. So I thought that was cool, just seeing how my endurance and my strength and my fitness had really improved through that all. So there's also some practical benefits to me on SARMS. Because like I said at Disneyland, if you're on your feet all day, it can be something that helps your overall health or your overall ability to perform. It also helped me, especially LGD, so the Ligandrol, that helped me in terms of strength and fullness. I would say it was more powerful than Osterin, but in its own way. It did not give me muscular endurance or joint strength. Rather, it made me hold a lot of water, and it gave me a feeling being pumped all day long. The pump from the gym would last for many hours. I went from deadlifting 275 pounds for 5 reps. Now I can do, within a matter of a month, I was able to do 315 for 7 reps. My squat also increased from 275 for 1 rep to 275 for 5 reps in a month as well. So 9 out of 10 times, though, after taking LGD, I was extremely sore from my workouts. There are really, in my opinion, and from what I know, there are really no negatives to taking SARMs, in my opinion. There are, other than being called unnatural. So if you're taking SARMs, people are going to accuse you of being unnatural. The only real side effect I experienced when I was on SARMs was suppression. I feeling not wanting to do much and just being sleepy all day. I probably felt about a week of that. It's no fun being demotivated to go to the gym, but it's pretty simple and easy to push through, just a matter of the will. So in a nutshell, SARMs helped me build hard, quality muscle and great strength while maintaining fullness at all times. My muscles became much more responsive to my training, and I even had to make drastic changes to my workout intensity after seeing the potential I was wasting by not training hard enough. I was able to keep adding more muscle once I came off the cycle, so there was never concern of losing progress. The only thing I lost coming off the cycle was muscle fullness and insane pumps. No strength or muscle tissue was lost. So stacking SARMs is something I'd like to do in the future, which involves using more than one SARM at once in a cycle. Alright, so let's talk about what I did after coming off the cycle. So I told you I had some great benefits on the cycle. How about afterwards? So what I did do, which I believe is very important, is taking post-cycle therapy. It's very important when you're doing steroids, but it's not quite as important as SARMs. I've heard people not doing it at all, but I personally wanted to play it safe. So I took a natural testosterone booster for 30 days after the cycle, and I personally will never use a SARM or transition without undergoing PCT for at least 30 days. During my next cycle, I plan to stay on a testosterone booster during the whole cycle. While SARMs produce steroid-like effects, they are nowhere near as powerful as real gear. So I chose to play it safe and test the waters of SARMs before I even consider using real gear. Personally, I would consider myself to be worthy of competing in a natural competition even after using SARMs, so I still consider myself natural. So okay, what's my advice to somebody considering SARMs? I would advise you guys to do your research on SARMs. Or steroids, no matter what you're looking into, you gotta do your research on it. Be aware that of the side effects they can cause, and make sure you know your body well. Also make sure your source is legit when you're stacking, and that they're not stacking pro-hormones with the SARM itself. I was fortunate to have a trusted source in my area who had great reviews from the customers. In the end, I'm glad I chose SARMs as an alternative to steroid for multiple health reasons. However, I would encourage any young person to train naturally because SARMs and steroids are not magic. Most people attribute fitness influencers' amazing physique solely to drugs, but that is not always the case. Genetics, training, and diet play a huge role in someone's physique. Drugs only help them take it to the next level. Likewise, SARMs will do nothing for you if you don't practice proper training and dieting. In fact, one could argue that SARMs are a waste of money in general, and I would agree. If you are serious about bodybuilding, you might as well take the real deal gear and skip the toys, SARMs. From my experience thus far, SARMs are simply a great muscle building supplement with some extra benefits. SARMs can only take your physique so far, while steroids have unlimited possibilities. Alright, thank you guys for having me. Enjoyed doing this interview. Hope this information about my personal experience is helpful for you guys. Looking forward to seeing the podcast and interacting with you guys more in the future. Thanks.
Alright, we're back. Very interesting take. What he had to say, and that was very different than I expected coming into it. I thought he was going to be a lot more pro SARMs, like really for SARMs, but he was a lot more moderate in his take on it. So what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Josiah. It was very interesting hearing his take on it. And I think, like he said, it surprised me a little bit hearing some of his takes on it. I thought he had a really balanced approach. One thing too I want to say is coming into this, I didn't have a whole lot of personal experience or personal knowledge about SARMs. I've done a lot of research and preparation for this, as well as reading Luke's article, and so that was very informational to me, and enjoyed getting to hear his perspective. I think a few good points that he talked about was just his main goal in fitness. He's hoping to become an IFBB pro. So for him, it's a lifestyle that he's living. It's not just like a side hobby or just trying to stay fit. So I think that's interesting. That's his first off goal. I think his talking about like the effects of of SARMs and how he chose to get into it and how he did it was very interesting hearing his approach. What do you think?
Yeah, so after reading through this, I think the first thing I wanted to talk about was SARMs, like what are they? So they're selective, let me get this right because it's a little confusing, right? Remind me, let's see, selective androgen receptor modulators. So that's kind of confusing, but from your research, what exactly does that mean?
Okay, yeah, so if you guys are familiar with normal steroids, you'll understand they work with your androgen receptors, which is kind of more the receptors in your cells and your body that produces the male testosterone, the male hormones. But normal steroids will also affect your estrogen levels and some of the female hormones that are produced through that. So what SARMs are is, like it says, selective androgen receptor modulators. They're specifically made to just focus on the androgen sides of it, so that way you don't get the negative repercussions of gyno or gyno, yeah, sorry, and other things that come with that, like hair loss and acne. It's supposedly, according to the research, it's supposed to help avoid those side effects. And also, it's hopefully, according to the research, a lot of the goal of it is to, rather than affecting your sexual reproductive systems like steroids do, it's supposed to focus more just on the muscle cells of it.
Yeah, so that's the goal of SARMs. From some things I've read and heard about, I don't think that's always the case. So, for example, like SARMs, the reason you can actually go out and buy them and they're not restricted like steroids are, they're not illegal here in the US, is because they're only sold for test purposes, and they're actually only supposed to be sold to be tested on like lab rats and things like that. They're actually not for human consumption. They've only been out for like about, correct, I could be wrong, but it's around like 20 years or so, and there's really not a lot of research done on it. So even though they claim they only target like the androgen receptors, because I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong with this, but androgen receptors are what like your free testosterone, like accepts your free testosterone, right? And then that's what, in the muscles, and that's what helps your muscles grow bigger. Because like for example, I take L-carnitine, and that's supposed to boost your free androgen receptors, which then allows more free testosterone to be utilized. So that's, from my understanding, it's only being sold right now because they want it to be for, supposedly for test purposes, but everyone nowadays, or not everyone, but a lot of people are starting to take them personally, and it's supposed to have no side effects. Now that's something I would kind of disagree on. From seeing Arnold's like use of them, he didn't really mention in this, just from personally seeing it, and this isn't like anything against him, he's a great kid, but I did kind of notice, I felt like he got more acne when he started taking it. I could be wrong, but I just noticed he started breaking out more. I don't know if that was due to SARMs or if that was just something naturally that happened.
Yeah, I agree. That did seem to possibly start when he started taking SARMs, so it makes you wonder if that happened because of SARMs. Could have been just an unrelated consequence of other things throughout his life, but it does make you wonder. I think in his essay, though, one thing I did appreciate in his answers to the question is that he talks about, he does like give an honest opinion of what he believes the side effects are. He talks about how he doesn't think there's going to be hair loss, gyno, and acne with that, but he does mention that it does suppress your natural testosterone levels, which is true throughout a lot of the research I was seeing. That's definitely something that happens. It will just decrease your testosterone levels to an extent, not nearly the same extent that normal steroids would do it, but that is an effect that was seen with a lot of the SARMs out there.
And to me, that's scary, man. Like, if someone's going to suppress my testosterone, dude, I love my testosterone. So, like, I don't really want my testosterone suppressed. Like, testosterone is vital in being able to build muscle. So if it's getting suppressed, like, that's not cool.
That's true.
I don't know, man. Before we continue on, I just want to put it out there. Both my brother and me, we've never taken SARMs. We have never taken steroids. We've just taken your standard supplements, L-carnitine, creatine, BCAAs, protein. So, we haven't taken any of this. We don't know from personal experience. But the suppression, man, I didn't like that.
One thing I want to note on too that you mentioned in one of your statements is just the amount of research that's out there. So I was researching these using the U.S. National Library of Medicine, guys, and going through that, and for some of the SARMs, it was really hard to find any official studies. So the only one that I was really able to find solid studies for was Osterine, which is MK2866. So that's the one that's been researched the most. But other than that, it's kind of concerning how few scientific results are out there. You can just like Google, like results of SARMs, and you'll find, every random person off the street's experience with it. there's not a whole lot of scientific proof. So that's one thing that's concerning with some of the SARMs. We'll get into that in more detail as we start to talk specific SARMs. That's one thing to consider is, like Josiah said, these are relatively new. Within the last 20 years they've come out. So there's not a whole lot of scientific studies talking about the long-term effects.
I think the thing that kind of irritates me, honestly, and takes me off is SARMs are projected as something that's safe. Like if you don't want to do steroids, which are risky, you should take SARMs. I disagree. There's not a lot of research. You can take steroids. Steroids have been taken for quite a few years now, and you can do steroids, and yes, there are side effects, but you can do it, in my opinion, more safely than SARMs because of all the knowledge out there. And that's debatable, but that's what I believe. I think SARMs are actually maybe more dangerous and more detrimental to your body than steroids.
And we'll get into that a little bit later as we talk about should you do steroids or should you do SARMs if you're going to go unnatural. We'll also talk about do you consider yourself unnatural if you take SARMs. We'll get into some of those details as well as the benefits and the possible side effects with those a little bit later here in the podcast.
So let's go ahead and talk about his experience a little bit. So he said he started taking fitness seriously back in 2018. So that was what, a year ago?
Summer 2018, so that's a little over a year ago.
I remember when he was back there, he was a lot smaller then. He said he was 130 pounds, and then since doing his in a matter of 10 months, he's now 175 pounds.
So it's 40 pounds within a year?
40 pounds, that's a lot of weight.
That is.
Huge increase. And then, so his goals are to compete in men's physique within the next 2 years. Now, I would argue he wants to become an IFBB pro, and he knows this. I've talked to him, but you can't become an IFBB pro taking SARMs. Mm-hmm. You're gonna have to do the real deal. SARMs are not gonna cut it. He mentions later, like SARMs is kind of like you could almost say it's kind of like the what do you call it? It's not the real deal, so it's kind of
like the training wheels to steroids, essentially.
Kinda. So I think that's cool. He wants to become an IFBB pro. I hope he's able to do it. That would be insane. That'd be dude, that'd be sick, man. I hope you make it.
So let's take that mentality and let's discuss a little bit. What's your mentality behind fitness? Do you think to become an IFBB pro, as most people know who are in the industry, it's going to take a lot of sacrifices, and it's going to take taking steroids essentially, which everyone knows can have some very serious side effects on your body. So let's talk a little bit about what our mentality of fitness is and whether pursuing that to the own harm of your future health is a good career path. You can start.
I think if you're passionate with fitness and you just love it and that's what you do and it's your passion, by all means go for it. If you're taking SARMs or steroids just recreationally to look good in the gym or impress ladies, that's stupid. But if you are that passionate that you want to become an IFBB pro and you're willing to sacrifice it all, you're willing to say, I may die early, I may lose my natural testosterone, I may have to be on testosterone therapy the rest of my life after I retire. And if you realize, hey, I could die early because of stuff like this, and if you're going to do it, I think you got to make sure you do it right. Find someone who's done it for quite a while, who really knows what they're doing, and do as much research as you can and be as safe about it as possible. That's one reason I actually think steroids like testosterone, all these other drugs out there, I think they should be legalized. I would debate that if they legalize it, it would be a lot safer for everybody. People are doing it anyway, and they're dying because they aren't doing it right. So if it was legalized, you could do it safely through doctors and be more open about it. I think it could be safer.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think the point about if it's going to be done, might as well make it where it can be done safely. That's a good point. I think thinking about going into the IFBB pro, the bodybuilding industry, it's a very interesting topic because for me as a fitness guy who's been in the fitness industry for a while, started off as a rugby player, then really got into the weights, and I'm headed into the fire academy here very soon. For me, fitness has never been about just looking good. That's obviously a benefit, a good benefit that comes with working out. I can't deny that. I enjoy that part of it. But for me, my main goals in it is to be able to perform well. As headed into the fire academy, I want to be healthy long term, and I want to be able to perform well. So for me, taking steroids, taking SARMs is not an option because I don't want to be putting myself through those side effects and those damage to my body that I'm going to experience down the road. That being said, I see Josiah's point where he's saying if it's something you're really passionate about and it's what you want to do, go for it.
Can I break in real quick?
Yeah.
I just think if you're going to do it though, it has to be something you're willing to die for. You have to want it's that bad that you're saying, I'm willing to die to do this.
And that's exactly like where I was going with that. It's like, it's not like I'm passionate about it, let's just try it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're making that decision to take steroids, you're saying, I'm willing to give my life to fitness. And so I think, because you understand or at least you better, if you're about to do it, you better understand the possible risks that are coming with taking steroids, or even SARMs, which
it could wreck your life if you don't do it right.
It could absolutely wreck your life. Even if you do it right, sometimes it affects other people different ways. So first you got to understand, you know, like, just because I'm taking steroids doesn't mean I'm going to make it to the top level. There's lots of people who do that and don't. It still takes hard work, it takes dedication, it takes genetics, it takes some things that are out of your control.
And I think that's a good point, because Luke talked about it in his paper. He talked about how you can take SARMs, you can take steroids, but it's not going to matter if you don't do like what you were saying.
Mm-hmm. That's true. So it's just got to be something you're willing to say, even if I don't make it to be an IFBB pro, even if I do and I never get famous off it or whatever, I'm willing to essentially give my entire life over to that. So you just got to really think it through carefully before you're going to start hopping on something that makes you unnatural.
Yeah, and I think on a side note too, like, both of us are believers in the fitness industry. You know, Christ, his death on the cross, our belief and trust in that, and his resurrection, we believe he saved us through that, and our faith is another thing. Like, he's the Lord of our life. So are we going to put fitness in that same aspect of it's the Lord of our life with Christ? And you can't do that as a believer. So I think too, as a believer, you got to really evaluate that aspect too. What are you making? Is it your idol in your life?
Exactly.
And for those of you who may not be believers, you don't have that. I guess you don't have that discussion.
There's not the spiritual side of it. But you still have to think.
It's still important, because there's a lot of people who may make it to the top but are still very unhappy with their lives and end up committing suicide. You see celebrities all the time, and that's not where you want to be. And for us, I think we find our joy and our passion in Christ, and part of that could be we can serve Christ through fitness hand in hand. Like, I've had experiences of being able to share the gospel through my personal training. One guy, like I mentioned before, even told me, because of JB Fitness, he was depressed, he was looking towards suicide, and that got him through it. So, fitness and Christ can work hand in hand.
Yeah, I think too, one thing I'll just say is, like, kind of coming off Josiah, the way you said, like, making it to the top, even if you do, or getting really jacked and having people who respect you for that, that's not what's going to bring you contentment. I know for myself, when I first started getting into lifting, I would always look up to these guys and be like, man, they have it all, life's got to be easy. And then you start getting the gains, and it's like, that's great, it's a big accomplishment, it's a great thing, you know what I'm saying? But, like, it's not, at the end of the day, what's going to bring you satisfaction.
Yeah.
And like I said, we're followers of Christ. We believe 100% that true satisfaction, true peace is found in Him and nowhere else.
Yeah, and like in life, man, like even in fitness, usually every 3 months or so, I go through a time where I just don't want to lift anymore. I'm like, why am I doing this? This is stupid. But then I keep pushing, I keep going through it, and I enjoy it. But there's going to be highs and lows throughout life, fitness, everything. So I think you just got to stay balanced. And if you're going to do this, man, cards are all in, man. And it's it's a bit of a gamble. There's so many people who do it and go all in and never make it big. So you don't think just because you take SARMs, you take steroids, you're going to be big. Let's talk about, so suppress his natural testosterone. And he said the reason I started taking SARMs was simply to experiment.
Yeah, that's
now, is that I don't know, dude. What do you think on that?
That's really interesting. Like we were talking about, it's something you really got to think through and understand. If he doesn't think that SARMs have these side effects that steroids do, and most of the research so far has probably proven him right that it's not nearly as extreme. But at the same time, it's only 20 years of research. It's still a very unknown area.
Can I bring up something here? While it's unknown, I've watched several YouTube videos out there. I believe it's Ryan Casey, I believe it is. He claims he's taken SARMs, and he said when he took SARMs, they started affecting him, where he started having kind of night blindness to an extent. So he would go to sleep, he'd open his eyes, and then it'd take his eyes 30 seconds to adjust to the light before he could actually see clearly again.
And that's
scary, man.
That is, and so that's a common side effect with the SARM that's called Androgen, which is S4.
Okay.
So it's not going to come with all SARMs, but there are side effects that do come with all SARMs, so you have to keep that in mind. Also, there's a guy named, he's on the YouTube channel, Anabolic Doc, and he's a PhD, certified medical doctor, who works with people who take steroids as well as SARMs. and he was against SARMs. You know, he acknowledged they don't have quite the effects that steroids do. After doing blood tests with other people who have been on, so doing blood tests with people who've been on SARMs and doing blood tests with people who've been on steroids, he saw a lot of the negatives of steroids with SARMs. So that's sketchy, you know, like that's just one doctor's opinion on it, but you do hear of side effects coming in, and throughout the industry you always hear there are some side effects with SARMs, and we haven't been able to experience what the long-term effects of those are, so that's something that definitely has to be kept in mind. So I think that's one thing with Arnold, our friend's choice to take SARMs that I definitely found interesting. He just said, I just want to experiment. And I think that's pretty risky when you decide to be experimenting with your own body. I mean, it's your choice.
You turn yourself into a lab rat.
Yeah, so it's like if you want to be a lab rat, you know, SARMs are alright, go for it, I
Roll
guess.
the dice.
But it's something you gotta be willing to take the risk on, willing to pay the
And
consequences.
I've watched another video by another guy who took SARMs, and he also mentioned he did lab testing like before and after, and before, like after his natural testosterone and several other things, like his what's the female hormone?
Estrogen.
Estrogen rose and his testosterone was suppressed back. And he was like regretting it bad. He was like, dude, I got messed up. So that was crazy.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what he took.
Okay.
So he took Ostarine, and he says MK, what's that stand for?
MK2866.
286. So Ostarine MK2866. I believe that's the SARM's name, isn't it?
So Ostarine is the common name for it. The scientific name is Enobosarm. So that's the one you're going to see in most of the scientific studies.
And its numbers, MK2866.
Yeah, the reason that they still have the numbers is they're not officially FDA approved. So they're still on a research basis. That's why you're going to see the numbers associated with each.
And so he says he took 25 milligrams a day. And then on top of that, he also took, how do you say that one?
Lugandrol. Yep, so that's
LGD 4033, 10 milligrams a day.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
So the dosing he's taking is pretty normal for most people in the industry. What I was seeing for Ostarine, what most people recommended was anywhere from a 10 milligram a day to about, I think the upper level was about 25 to 30. So he's taking more of the upper level of Ostarine, probably like mid to upper level.
Okay.
And then Lugandrol, 10 milligrams a day, pretty typical for that as well. So what I wasn't 100% sure from his answers, was he taking them at the same time, or did he take them separately? Were you able to pick that up? Like, was he
I don't really
stacking these?
know. I know he took SARMs and like he did 2 cycles. I think from reading it, it sounded like he took them at the same time.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure. Sometimes it sounded like he took them at the same time, sometimes he didn't.
Yeah.
But
I don't know for sure.
either way, like that definitely changes things, whether you're taking them at the same time or not, because you can stack their capabilities upon each other.
So from your research, you did research on those 2 SARMs.
Yeah.
What is the purpose of Ostarine, and what about the other one?
Okay, yeah, so first off, let's get into a little bit the history of SARMs. So, like we said, SARMs came around 20 years ago or so, and they were first formulated or invented, I guess you could say, by a guy whose wife was struggling with cancer, and so he wanted to find something that would help decrease the muscle waste or muscle loss that people going through cancer and other chronic diseases like that cause muscle loss. He wanted to help find something that would benefit them without the negative sides of steroids with the other negative benefits. So that's been interesting, like seeing where it came from. It came from a good background, hoping to help in the scientific field. So let's get into a few of the specifics. So Ostarine MK2866, so scientifically known as Enobosarm. It's the most researched one, the most well-known, probably the most common SARM out there. So first off, let's just throw out a couple of the benefits and possible cons that come from this one. So benefits are going to be increased muscle growth, increased muscle retention during cuts. So this is one that's really popular for people when they're going on a cut. Because as you guys know, if you cut, you're going to lose muscle mass as well as losing fat.
Especially if you're natural.
Exactly. So when you're cutting, you're trying to retain as much muscle mass while losing as much fat as possible. So this is a SARM that people really like using when they cut, because it's going to help them. It's going to help them retain muscle while losing fat. They even said, especially if you pair this with, I think it was S4 Androgen, then it's going to really help you. Actually, like some people can build muscle while they lose fat using this SARM. So it's called body recomposition, where it's going to make your body burn fat when it's burning calories, when it's in a calorie deficit. But instead of building fat when bring in the calories, it's going to help you build muscle. So that's a huge benefit. Also, other benefits that come with this SARM is going to be decreased recovery time from injuries and helped improve joint health. So a lot of people who use it will say their joints felt a lot better while they're on this SARM. And if people are going through injuries, this is something that'll help them recover.
Well, and that's what Arnold said. You know, he even said, he was like, my joints felt great. He went on a Disney day trip, and I don't know how much of this is just like a placebo, but he went on a Disney day trip, like, those days are crazy because it's like all day with the school, and everyone was complaining about joints hurting, and he said he felt fine.
Yeah. It makes you wonder because he was comparing it from a year difference from how I felt. And so, obviously, for working out,
he's probably in better shape.
If you've been working out for a whole year, you're probably going to be in better fitness and survive the day better. But I mean, at the same time, he did definitely see improvement. So, how much of that is credit to you, Ostarine and the other SARM he took? What was it? Ligandrol? I don't know, but that's something that he did see as a benefit.
Okay.
So, some of the side effects that you can see with Ostarine are going to be testosterone suppression. So just like steroids, this isn't nearly to the same level as you're going to see with steroids, but it is going to bring down your natural T levels. So with that, a lot of the studies said that within a few weeks, the natural hormone level would come back to the same level as it was. That is something to definitely keep in mind because it does mess with your testosterone levels a little bit. It can also, at times, affect your cholesterol levels in a negative way. That one is more minor. They say it's not as common, but it does happen, as well as coming with headaches. And a big one is lethargy. So just like lack of energy, especially first week or so, which I think
he talked about that. Yeah, he said at least 1 week. Let me just put this out there. He did 8-week cycles, and he did 2 of them. And he said at least 1 week during that time he would feel pretty lethargic, and he just had to push through. He did say some of the benefits he felt were fuller and harder muscles because of the glycogen capacity was increased supposedly. And he noticed that just after day 2 of taking Ostarine.
And for me, I wonder, was that after Ostarine or was that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then his endurance was better, he said. His joints felt lubricated. So the next, let's go ahead and talk about. But yeah, he did also. What were we talking about before though? Just a second ago, I sidetracked.
We were talking about the benefits and cons of taking Ostarine.
Oh yeah.
So I'll let you guys know a few more of the side effects. So we just talked about headaches and lethargy. So where you're lacking energy, that's something a lot of people who've taken Ostarine talk about, especially the first week of their cycle. They say a lot of times after that first week, they start pushing through, either getting used to it or they start getting their energy back.
Which is a negative because you want to feel good in the gym.
Exactly. Like with this, like if you're
you gotta take a bunch of pre-workout and kill yourself.
Yeah, honestly, like it's a tough side effect. It's not, hopefully like major health effect, but it will make it harder for you to put work in the gym. So also there have been cases of people taking Ostarine where it starts causing gyno. So that's a possibility. It's not common.
My goodness, that's like the worst one, man.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's terrible. But yeah, going back to Anabolic Doc, he said him and then a guy who runs isarms.com, he was talking about how they've actually seen gyno occur, and he said estimate about maybe 10%. Because that's actually pretty high. Like
1 out of 10 people.
That's pretty high. Like he was saying that as a low percentage, maybe compared to steroids it is. Yeah. I don't know a whole lot about steroids, but that's still a pretty high chance. 1 out of 10, like that's not a chance I would be willing to take.
Yeah.
And then also another side effect for ladies can be just irregular cycles that are affected while you're on it, but once you come off, that usually goes back to normal. But let's talk a little bit more in detail about some of the studies they've done. So like we mentioned, they first started using this to treat cancer patients. So there's a study that was done in 2007. This is one of the most in-depth, like one of the first in-depth studies on SARMs. And so they took a group of about, I think it was about 115 people or so, and they started them in it was a 113-day program, so it's about 3 months.
Okay.
So that's a pretty good time span, a lot longer than some of the
Did they take these every day?
Yeah, so going into this, they had a placebo group.
Okay.
So he was given. So this was a double-blind test.
Yeah.
So that means that the person giving the pill didn't know, and the person receiving it didn't know, but they had somebody keeping track of who was getting what. So that way, some people were taking placebo, something that had no SARMs in it, and they were just maybe getting the mental effects of it, thinking they were on SARMs. Then they had some people taking, I think it was 1 milligram a day. So this is pretty small dosage compared to what bodybuilders are going to be taking. But these guys are all cancer patients that were tested. So
They're not
the
trying to get swole.
average age group is like 65 to 70, so you're talking senior citizens.
Oh, wow.
And they're just trying to prevent muscle loss from cancer. But yeah, so like I said, this was first started out trying to test and see how it would help cancer patients.
So what happened in the results?
So the results, so compared with the study says, this is written by U.S. National Library of Medicine. Adrian Dobbs wrote this, and he says, compared with the baseline, significant increases in total lean body mass by day 113, or the end of the study, were noted in both the enobosarm groups, so the 1 milligram and the 3 milligram groups. Change in total lean body mass with the placebo group was not significant. So there was significant body mass growth with these people.
How much? Do you know?
So let's see, it was it's several percent. I'm not sure exactly.
And how many milligrams were they taking a day?
So the first group, so they had the placebo group, they had a 1 milligram group, and they had a 3 milligram group, and it was dose based. So the higher the dose, the more muscle. They also tested it to see what type of performance was kept with this or was improved. So with each group, they had a stair climb challenge or stair climb test. So they started them all out at the beginning, saw how fast they could climb the stairs. Then afterwards, after 113 days, they had them repeat the test. And the stats were pretty staggering. You look at this chart here, which you guys can't see there, but it's for the placebo group. We'll throw it up on the screen for you guys. But for the placebo group, it's just a slight increase over the time, probably because they were working on it. But then for the 1 milligram group, it was a significant increase. And for the 3 milligram group, it was an even better increase.
Crazy.
So looking at these studies, it definitely was improvement from it. And the interesting thing with these studies is they say adverse events were generally much the same between groups and were consistent for patients who were undergoing chemotherapy. So adverse events, meaning physical problems that came up throughout the process, weren't significantly different between the placebo group and even up to the 3 milligram group.
I think the one thing you got to take away from that, though, is they test it on like the elderly, because those effects may not be nearly as great for those who are healthy in their prime with perfect hormone levels and everything.
Exactly.
So that's kind of because they did that same type of thing with L-carnitine. I take L-carnitine, and it's supposed to increase your androgen receptors in your body, and they tested on elderly, and it was shown to work but they're already usually deficient in a lot of things. So that healthy,
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, man.
Like even with some of these other studies we'll look at, they've done studies on rats that have been like castrated, and so essentially like those, they have no negative effects because they don't have natural testosterone levels. So just that makes a good point that these people are, average 65 years old and cancer patients. So it's not going to be, great studies for bodybuilding because it's different dosage level, different goal with it. But at least through that, you do see there is muscle progress and muscle growth that's retained through it.
Okay, let's quickly, so we can keep this moving, the next one.
So LGD 4033.
Yeah.
So that's Ligandrol. So this is the second SARM that Arnold took. So this one is a very, very low research rate out there. With the U.S. National Library of Medicine, there was no published specific tests on this one. There's one study that talked about it slightly. There's nothing much out there, so that's the main concern with this one. Okay, so Ligandrol claimed benefits are going to be increasing lean body mass and muscle growth and performance. So this one is more of a bulking SARM, or it can be paired with Osterin for a cut to try to retain muscle mass, but it's much more, it's not something you take just by itself during a cut because it's not going to help you with fat loss like a Osterin that's going to do, but it's going to help you just put on mass. So it's really good bulking SARM. Cons to this one is testosterone suppression, just like Osterin. And other than that, there's not a whole lot known about it for
That's scary.
Side effects. So yeah,
let's roll the dice here.
It's really scary. So I actually have a study written by Melissa Wayne, and she's talking about how little it's researched. So this study is written in 2019, so it's a pretty current essay. And she says there's only one published study on the effects of LGD in humans, as well as a phase 1 clinical trial. So that shows you there's maybe 2 scientific studies out there that are talking about it. And the study that is out there was only 3-week placebo-controlled with 76 men, 21 to 50. But it wasn't focused on muscle growth like a bodybuilder would be. It was more designed to see the maximal effects for kind of the same thing of recovery and that type of thing, but it wasn't focused on a bodybuilding standards, and it was also, the study was done by the company who invented or who produces it. So that just makes you question completely how reliable it's going to be.
Yeah.
So that's the scariest thing with Logandrol is it does promise some good benefits. It's also going to have some testosterone suppression. People know that. But other than that, it's a very, very new SARM, very unresearched one. So it's just a lot of unknown with that SARM.
That's interesting. All right, so let's look. So he took both of those and he did 2 cycles. And he said, let's see, where was it exactly? I'm looking for it. He said he did, each of his cycles he put on like what, 10 and then 15 pounds or something like that?
Let's see, I believe that's right. So let's see if we can find that section.
I just read it a bit ago. If I can find it.
Okay, here it is. So bottom of this paragraph. So he says, I put on 15 pounds with my first cycle and another 10 pounds with my second cycle.
Yeah. And okay, so this brings a question. Okay, so he claims like how much of this is placebo, how much is real? I know I've talked to other people too who say they got great strength gains from it. But usually these people when they're taking them put on a lot of weight. So let's say you put 10, 15 pounds of weight on, your body's naturally going to be stronger no matter if you're taking SARMs or not. Like, so he said he felt pumps after in the gym that would last for hours even after he was in there. That's crazy. I've never had that. So I mean. So he went from deadlifting 275 pounds for 5 reps to deadlifting 315 pounds for 7 reps in just 1 month.
It's pretty good.
That is pretty good. That's what, 30 or 40 pounds?
So that's 40 pounds.
40 pounds.
And upping the reps with that too, in a matter of a month. So
that's pretty substantial, especially for only like 10 or 15 pounds put on during that time.
I think with
and his squat went from 275 for 1 rep to 275 for 5 reps. Now, how much is that? Is because he's being more. I know he was tracking everything, so he's being really on point.
And a lot of people will talk about through the people I've researched who have taken Ostrin, they'll talk about how it has the mental effect. Where so not only does it actually help mentally, some people claim, but also it's going to give you that extra motivation to get in the gym. And some people even talk about taking SARMs just for that fact because they realize they're taking something that's going to help benefit them, and so while they're on a cycle, they realize, okay, I actually have to put the time in right now. I have to take it seriously. So yeah, you have to wonder how much of it is the dedication, the work ethic that comes with it, or how much of it is actually the SARM helping. I think one thing that is pretty undeniable through the research is Ostrin, especially, is going to help you build muscle.
Okay.
I think that's a given. It's not going to be the same effects as a steroid. But even so, going back to like cancer patients and people they've tested it on, within it's about 3-month period after taking just small dosages up to 3 milligrams of Ostrin, without changing diet, without changing workout, each of these patients on average gained about 2 to 3 pounds of lean muscle.
Wow!
Without changing.
Sign me up.
Yeah, without changing their like diet or anything like that. So that just shows you it is going to help you build muscle.
And they were even taking 10 milligrams.
Exactly.
They're taking 3.
Yeah, and they've proven too through these studies that it is dosage related. So the more you take, the more effect you're going to get.
100 milligrams. Anyone?
Yeah, as you increase the dosage, it stops being as exponential. But yeah, so like I think we can say Ostrin does help.
Okay. All right.
And I think the thing you have to consider is it's going to help you. Is the benefit more than the cost? And that's the thing that's still kind of to be seen.
So he also did post-cycle therapy, which I thought that was really smart. He takes a natural test booster for 30 days after each of his cycles. So he takes 30 days off, and I guess he did it again or something. Which that's smart. And he said his next one he's going to do that even during his cycle.
Okay.
The thing with natural test boosters is it's kind of up in the air whether like they really help you at all. Like, I don't know. Maybe if you're suppressed. If you're suppressed, man, it's going to help a lot. So maybe. I don't know. He considers himself natural. Okay. I don't know. Okay, I would disagree with that. I don't think he's natural. I'd say most people in the fitness industry would disagree with that. They would say you're not natural.
I agree with that. Even I have a quote from Alexander Contrarian, and he's the guy who wrote an article on Estrin. But yeah, he wrote an article on Estrin, seems to have done a lot of research on it. Obviously, he's not a big name. But yeah, so I thought this quote summed up a good mentality, I think, throughout the fitness industry. He says, Ostrin is a serious performance enhancer. If you take it, you won't be a natural anymore. And I'd agree with that statement. I think.
Yeah.
So let's read what Luke says. So he talks about.
He says, so while SARMs produce steroid-like effects, they're nowhere near as powerful as the real gear. I choose to play it safe and test the waters with SARMs.
Mm-hmm.
Play it safe. That could actually be more dangerous in my opinion. I disagree with that one as well.
Also,
before I even consider using real gear, personally, I would consider myself to still be worthy of competing in a natural competition even after using SARMs. So he considers himself natural, I guess?
Yeah, he still considers himself natural, and he says earlier in the interview, he says there are really no negatives in taking SARMs, in my opinion, other than being called unnatural by some people. So, and then with what Josiah just read, he definitely considers himself still natural. I even remember personally asking him if he's actually natural, and he said he was. Yeah, I would disagree with that.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has their opinion. I'd say everyone, if you watch this video, maybe at this point, leave a comment down below whether if you take SARMs you're natural or not. I would disagree. I'd say you're not. It's performance enhancing. It's not natural. Your body doesn't naturally produce it. You know, your body naturally produces L-carnitine, creatine. You naturally get proteins, BCAAs.
Yeah.
But nowhere did your body naturally produce these supplements.
Yeah, here's the thing. So SARMs, especially, just blanked on the name. Ostarine, it's going to help you boost testosterone benefits. So it's not actually boosting your natural testosterone levels.
Suppressing it.
It's suppressing those levels, but it's going to bind with the androgen receptors and help you build muscle.
Yeah.
So that's giving you a similar effect to steroids, and it's definitely not something you're going to get naturally. You know, people who take creatine and say they're still natural. Okay, you know that makes sense because creatine is something is naturally in your diet. It's something that honestly most people don't get enough of. That's why they don't get the benefits.
Yeah.
But SARMs are not something you're going to get naturally through your diet. Yeah. So I think you can't claim to be natural and be taking these things because they do, from countless testimonies, countless research, help build muscle. And so I think if you're going to claim to be natural and take SARMs, you're wrong because it is helping you. It's giving you an extra benefit that the average person's not going to be getting, even if they get their diet just right.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing I was just thinking about the strength gain aspect. He talked about how one of the SARMs caused him to retain water. Mm-hmm. Having water retention actually makes your joints feel so much better, and actually helps your strength gains a lot because the extra water and moisture like around the muscle and like muscle fibers. Honestly, I feel so much better when I'm extra water in my body. Mm-hmm. So I would say like that could be another reason it does increase your strength.
Yeah, absolutely.
So a good point you talked about is when buying SARMs. So they can be kind of dangerous by SARMs. You can buy them online, you can buy them in stores, things like that. Now, I don't think I would ever buy, like if I was going to do SARMs, I don't think I would ever buy them online. You're just rolling the dice. It could come from like China or somewhere.
Yeah,
it'd be totally fake with pro-hormones, which could wreck you.
Exactly.
And so you got to find a really good source, and he's found one. I personally know where he buys it from. So if you guys need some, hit me up. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to tell you. But he's found a supposedly safe place to buy it, and I think it is. It seems like a legit place.
So I just want to talk on the unreliability of, especially online sources. It sounds like for our interviewee that he has a good, like he was talking about. Yeah, Arnold, exactly. But he was talking about how he has like a reliable source where the customers have reviewed it well, and it's a local place. So I think that's a much more reliable way to do it.
Yeah. But
yeah, there's another study that was done on the reliability of sellers and the type of products you're getting when you're buying offline. So this study, they had 44 products bought offline, and they tested each of them. So it says among the 44 products marketed and sold as selected as SARMs, only 23 out of the 44, so 52%, contained one or more SARM. So that means 48% didn't even have SARMs in them.
Wow.
And then additionally, some of them, it was 39% contained something that was an unapproved drug that wasn't listed. 9%, it was
that's crazy.
Yeah, wow. And there was, I think it was like 9% had pro-hormones in it, which can like really wreck you. And only, it was only 41% had products that actually matched the label. So 59% either had the dosage wrong or they didn't even have a SARM in it. So that just shows you it's very unreliable buying things off the internet with SARMs.
Well, that could even be in his.
Could be, you don't know. Like could even be like a messed up dosage. A lot of these did have the SARM in them, but the dosage was less than advertised to save money for the company. So obviously that's very dishonest, but that's something you're going to run into.
The dark truth of the SARM industry.
Exactly, and that's because it's not regulated by the FDA right now, because it's just sold on a experimental basis, so it's not regulated. So that's why you're going to run into that.
Yeah. So I mean, at this point, that's once again another reason that proves my point of like, I think steroids and SARMs should be regulated, and doctors should be able to prescribe them to people who want them.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue for it. Make it legal, guys. Okay, and he wraps it up a bit here. He says, if you are serious about bodybuilding, you might as well take the real deal and skip the toys, which are SARMs. I would agree with that. Actually, when I was talking to this guy, he actually asked my advice before he took them. And he said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What's your thoughts? And I told him straight up, like, I wouldn't do it. I don't recommend it. I was like, if I was going to do something, I'm going straight to steroids. The proven results, you're going to, you still got to work hard, you got to put in the time. Not everyone's going to get crazy off steroids, and there's a lot of different types of steroids out there, but that's a whole other topic. But I told him, I was like, I want to do it. If you're going to do it, just go to gear. That was my opinion. Now, that might be, some of you guys can argue in the comments down below. That's ridiculous.
Let us know what you think. Comment down below.
But that's my thoughts. What about you?
I agree with that. So I think, we see in his first answer, he says that he wants to become an IFBB pro. So if that's his goal.
But he's not totally sold on that, I feel like, because look, he said that's his goal, but he's kind of like wanting to test waters before he does something more. So maybe he's like,
yeah, so that makes
sounds
sense.
like he's waffling.
I'd say, okay, if he's totally sold on that like we talked about at the beginning of this podcast, that if you're going to do it, you have to be pretty much willing to give your life to it. So if he's not there,
it doesn't sound like he's at that point yet.
It doesn't sound like he's there. If he is, then you just got to go to steroids, essentially, I would feel like. But to me, where it seems like he's kind of testing the waters, like he said, he wanted to experiment on himself, which that's kind of risky. But if that's where he wants to see what it can do for him, then maybe taking SARMs is a good choice for him, just kind of test the waters.
Yeah, and I mean, I have utmost respect for this guy. Like I said, I actually sought him out and wanted to get his information, his thoughts on it, and he's very knowledgeable. He does a ton of research, man. Like, he really does. He puts his time in and he researches it, and so, I respect that. He's not one who goes, oh, I'm just going to go do something. He thinks about it, he really processes it, and he makes the decision. So even though it's a bit of a roll of the dice, he put it in, did as much research as he could, and he took it. And for him, it was the right choice, I guess.
Yeah, for him, he decided it was worth it. And I think something just to show his mentality, how it's a solid mentality behind it.
Yeah.
Even giving advice like, would you recommend it to someone else? He says, no, I wouldn't recommend this to someone else. I would recommend you stay natural, because it's not going to, make you sound superhuman. But at the same time, so he's not saying go do it, but he does say if you're considering doing it, do the research, figure out the effects, and make sure it's worth it. So I respect that. I think as long as you make a balanced decision, a well thought through decision, and you decide it's worth it for yourself, that's your call to make. I'm not going to judge you for that. I think it's their freedom to choose whether to do it or not. You just have to decide if it's worth it to you personally. Yeah,
and I think for the average person, I want to do it. I mean, it's just not worth it. If you're not going to compete and you're not going to try and take it to the next level, why? Just stay natural. There's no point.
So let's talk about the allure of SARMs. What for you, if you were considering SARMs, would be the part of it that would kind of entice you to start taking?
Well, it's the whole thing he said. So the lure is there's no side effects. Quote, quote, there really is, in my opinion. So to me, I wouldn't take SARMs. I'd go straight to gear. But the lure, in my opinion, is there's no side effects. Yes, steroids, gains, bruh. I want those gains, bruh. So, I disagree with that. I think actually SARMs probably are going to have, mark my words, 10 to 20 years down the road, when the SARMs are really well known, they're going to realize SARMs is worse than steroids. That's my opinion.
So I'm going to disagree with that. And first off, let me answer the question, then I'll get to that. So what's the allure of taking SARMs? Okay, for me as a aspiring firefighter, what would be the allure of it for me?
No side effects.
Less side effects than steroids. Seemingly insignificant from some of the research, but is that true? We're not sure. The one thing we do know is it's going to affect your testosterone levels, and that could be serious. But other than that, there's nothing that's high key proven. So I think as somebody who's just looking for performance, the thing that is that would be exciting about it is you're going to gain strength from it, It's going to help your workouts. You're going to be more motivated.
Put muscle
put muscle on. And even just like it
Get
talks
leaner.
about helping people with endurance. Like you look at the patients who the stair climb, or even Luke's testimony of being at Disneyland, things like that, which is going to give you extra endurance, extra ability to perform. So for me, as like going into life and death situations, if I could have that extra edge, that extra performance, without having to risk side effects, man, like I'd be very, very tempted to do that. And so I think time will tell about SARMs. I think so. That's the thing. Like I think, who knows? Here, my personal opinion, going off what Josiah said, is I think 50 years from now, SARMs could very well be something that's very common, especially in older people, to help extend lifetime. Because I think the muscle degeneration that it prevents could be very helpful in helping people live longer lives. So is this something that's going to be beneficial in bodybuilding? We'll see. That's going to be down the road. What type of side effects are these going to have? Again, we'll see. Josiah could be right. These could be worse than steroids. I don't think that's going to be the case. But we do know they're not as potent as steroids. They don't have as good of benefits. So I don't think they're going to have as bad of side effects. What I do think is we're going to see over time, are the side effects serious?
Yeah.
And I could very well see this being something that, especially as it's more researched and more developed, it might not be the SARMs we have today, but I think a SARM that we have in the future could actually be a very safe way to help people prevent muscle loss, especially in old age, and could even be something that could be a good supplement that has no serious repercussions. We'll see what time tells.
I mean, I know everyone claims everything causes cancer, but the funny part about this is supposedly SARMs, which was supposed to prevent cancer, supposedly could cause cancer.
That's true. Yeah, there's research out there claiming that SARMs enhances your chance of cancer, and of course there's that almost everything.
Yeah.
So I think once again that's just a time will tell. What's going to happen.
I just say don't do it.
I agree with that. Like at this point, where we're at right now in the research phase, I would not recommend it. I think give it 20, 30, 40 years. Maybe it's a different opinion, but I think we just don't have enough of a sample to say, can you do it safely?
Yeah. And then finally he talks about, he says steroids have unlimited possibilities.
Yeah.
No.
I think he didn't think that one through. I'm not going to call him out too hard on that one. I think he was just trying to show the different extreme.
I think it was more like an analogy, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like he was just trying to say, compared to SARMs, steroids have unlimited possibilities.
Yeah, so obviously it's a whole other level.
Yeah.
I don't think he's trying to say there's no limit to steroids. I don't think that's
you could
what he's
become
trying to say.
Ronnie Coleman, guys. Every single one of you. No, bodybuilding, fitness, a lot of it's genetics, hard work, diet, sleep. Dude, people don't sleep enough. That's a huge thing for me, is like sleep. That's one of the most forgotten things. You grow when you're sleeping. Like, if you're not getting enough sleep, you're not going to grow, guys. Sleep more.
I think, so just going off like the sleep and energy part of it, I think that's like, these ostarine can be affecting your energy levels. So like, I know that's really rough. Like if you're having suppression and having difficulties making it into the gym, that's difficult. Cause like even for me right now, I'm working a very busy schedule.
Yeah.
And I'm just constantly exhausted because I'm working so much, because I'm pushing towards the goal to be able to make it into the Fire Academy and pay for that. And it just makes it much tougher in the gym pushing through that. So I think if that's going to be a constant side effect, that's a big decline. However, on the positive side, like Luke said in his essay and his answers, he was talking about how in the gym he felt more motivated and more energized. So if that's the case, I can see that being a big allure to people as well. But it really, something I'd be curious to research is how much that's affected by, if I was, like for me, if I would hop on it right now, and at the fatigue level I'm experiencing with the busyness of my life, would that give me extra energy in the gym? If it did, that would be another big allure to taking that.
I think that you can counteract that though. Let's say you're feeling suppressed, testosterone's down, you're feeling suppressed, man. That's terrible. Just take some pre-workout, some crazy pre-workout, and you're gonna feel good in the gym. And then you got the bonus of the,
That's true. Yeah. So I'm not saying take it just for the extra energy in the gym by any means, but I'm just saying if that is a benefit, I can see how that's enticing.
Yeah, that's true. Any other points you wanted to talk about?
So I guess one thing. So I know we mentioned this briefly. If somebody is looking to try something unnatural, what would be your process for helping them decide? Do you go straight to steroids or do you take SARMs instead at this point? What would your advice be?
So do neither.
Yeah, well, let's say
Stay natural.
Let's say obviously that's my advice.
But if you're going to, I'd say how serious are you? Like, is your goal, are you 100% sure, and this is your 100% passion that you want to go pro? Like, if you want to go pro or you just want to have a crazy physique and that's all you want, and like that's your passion, steroids. Now, if you're wavering, but you're going to take something, but you're wavering, okay, I guess you take SARMs.
Okay, so from that so something earlier you said is you're not sure if you agree that SARMs are safer than steroids. But from that advice, it sounds like you
That's
do.
true.
So,
Okay.
so what do you think to that? Like, do you think
right.
SARMs are actually safer than steroids?
It's hard to say. That's the scary part. It's like, as of right now, I'd say people think they are, and so I kind of think they are. But I think long term they could be worse.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's the scary part about SARMs, that there's not proven. I'd say based off the research we have today, SARMs seem safer. But it's just the unknown that is the scary part.
Yeah, it's just the unknown. So you kind of got me there, man.
No, I was just curious. Just wanted to hear what your views on that.
It just has that alert, and it's just unknown though. Where like steroids, you know what you're getting, and you know the consequences. Where like SARMs, you don't. So that has that allure of being safer. But it's just like having a piece of candy that's like, it looks really good, but there could be like a knife blade inside, or there could not. You don't really know. And the other one, you know there are some like tacks in there, but you can work around them. But this one, you're not sure. So you take it, and then 2 years down the road, that knife blade actually rips your stomach out.
Yeah.
Or there wasn't one in there, and it was all good.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice, and I mean, obviously, I agree with what Josiah said at first. Just stay natural.
Yeah.
And work out for health. You know, that's my mentality.
Yeah.
And if you're doing it
if you're trying to compete and you're like super serious, you know, it's not about health.
Yeah, it's not. So I mean, if that's where you're at, if you have that mentality where I'm trying to hop up on stage, I'm trying to become an IFBB pro, you're gonna have to do something.
Yeah.
So
I guess
that's
all right. As we said before, both of us are natural. At the end of this discussion, after he said after your research, did your opinion change on SARMs?
Yeah, I would say definitely. So we'll make this kind of our closing statement for the podcast. So I'd say coming in to this study of SARMs and hearing our interviewees' perspective on it, as well as a lot of the research through trusted sources I've done, I came in actually with a very negative view of SARMs, where I thought I was going to be in here just hardcore bashing SARMs.
I thought you was too.
But I would say the research I did actually makes me have a much more positive view of it, while I'm still very skeptical.
Very.
So I would just say I'm not at all, like I would never tell a friend, go take SARMs. You know, what I would say is I'm interested to see what's going to happen over the next few years, see what research comes out, because I think there is a lot of potential. But there's potential on both sides. That's the scary thing, is there's potential for that it could be.
So roll the dice.
Could be a really cool thing, really, beneficial help. And I think part of it that's most exciting to me is just seeing how it could possibly be used to help cancer patients and people with other chronic diseases like that are destroying their bones, destroying their muscle growth.
Yeah.
I think that'd be amazing if something like this would be something that would help keep people alive longer, help them combat that disease. And secondarily, if it helps with bodybuilding, helps people build muscle and do it in a safe way, that'd be great. But I think right now, where we're at today, there's just not enough research, and so I would not be comfortable at all recommending it to somebody without there being further research. I think too, you just have to choose which specific SARM you're going to use carefully, because I think too, like just I was mentioning, one of the side effects of Androgen is like blindness, or not necessarily blindness, but just
your eyes don't adjust as fast.
Yeah, you start kind of seeing it like yellow tint. It takes you a lot longer to adjust. And even one guy I was watching who was talking about his use of it, saying like he took a large dose of it, and the next morning he woke up and it took him forever to actually
I think that was Brian Casey, right?
Might have been. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah. So it's just like that's scary stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't take that one. Essentially, I'm just saying like you're not wanting to mess with your vision. And that sounds very sketchy.
Imagine if you took SARMs and went blind.
Yeah, that'd be terrible. So all I'm saying is like, be careful if you are going to choose one. I mean, it sounds like Austrian is the most researched one, and there's a lot more out there. It has the side effects that people know that it can cause, but it also has the benefits. It's more proven. So like, if somebody was going to take it, that's the one I'd be a little more comfortable with. But still, at this point, I'm not sitting here trying to recommend SARMs to anybody just because there are side effects, and a lot of them we don't know what's going to happen with.
I'd agree. I came in with a negative mindset of it, and was like, this is bad. Your research actually was pretty enlightening. However, it's still pretty don't really, like, a lot of the research was on the elderly, and it doesn't really apply to bodybuilding because I'm looking at this from a bodybuilding perspective. I think it does have some benefits, but I think there's also a lot of negatives involved as well, and some negatives that people may not even realize till years down the road. So I would not ever do SARMs. I would never recommend SARMs. I have never recommended SARMs, and even to this guy, I recommended he didn't do it. He made his choice. I respect him for that. I'm respecting, like, he wrote this huge article, man. Thank you so much. Like, I really appreciate this. Gave us a good topic to talk about, and like, he has made some great gains, man. He's put on a lot of weight and a lot of muscle, and it's gonna be cool to see where he goes. I hope he becomes an IPV pro. A lot of respect for him. I appreciate all his research and his times. But yeah, I would never take SARMs. And I mean, your research kind of was like, a little alluring. It's like, it doesn't have any side effects. It's like, yeah, don't trick me like that. If I was going to do something, like if I decided to try and take my fitness to the next level, if I was ever going to do something like that, I'm hopping on like the gear. I'm not doing SARMs. Yeah,
I agree with that. I think just one last thing, and we'll call it a night.
Stay natural.
Stay natural. I think the one thing that, like I kind of briefly mentioned earlier, that's enticing about SARMs is just the fact that it can increase your performance.
Yeah, you said that.
Yeah, I know. So I'm just saying, like, it can increase your performance, and like that's pretty cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I could see I could see people who aren't like trying to become like IFBB pros still really wanting to take it. Like for me, it's even something that if it didn't have side effects, I would be very tempted to take because it would help me perform in my job and in my goals. So I do think, we'll give it time and we'll see what happens with it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think it's been a good discussion, man.
I think so too. It's been a fun topic to research, and
good job on researching a lot of great stuff. I hope you guys learned something. We rambled on for quite a while, but it was fun, and that's what it's about. We're just out here having fun. First podcast, and
hopefully it was beneficial to you guys.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's informative. There's a lot of research out there. I think, you guys in the comments, whoever watches, probably actually knows more than we do. We're not expert by any means, and so leave some comments down. Debate about SARMs versus steroids. Which one's safer? Would you ever take it? What's your thoughts on it? So thank you guys for watching. It's been a good podcast. Neither of us, I think we both agree, neither of us are ever going to take it.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
Unless it's proven 100%, that is fine.
Unless maybe I'm 60 years old and I've got a disease, I'll be taking SARMs. Maybe I'll be taking it. We'll see. Hopefully not.
Hopefully, though, it can be used in a positive manner, like you said. Help cancer patients, man, that would be fantastic.
That'd be the best thing that could come out of it.
All right, guys, thank you for watching. First podcast out.
And remember, never back down.
Never back
Thanks
down.
to my guy Josiah, JB Fitness. Off to a great start. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this first podcast.
Have a good week. Thank you to our friend. You made it happen, man.
Thanks, Arnold.
Thanks, Arnold.
All right. See you guys.